Good evening again, listening audience. Oh boy, I tell you, time go by so fast. Can't you believe? Can you believe it? We have covered a month already. This is the 1st of April, the first Thursday of April. And you know what time it is. We do the testimony broadcast the first Thursday of every month. And so we are back at it again. But I want to tell you, make sure you hit that bell and that subscribe button because you do not want to miss any video that is broadcast from this channel. So you want to go ahead, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you can get all the different broadcasts that we're doing. People are commenting and they're saying that by Patrolman, we are enjoying the different testimonies that you are doing month after month, and praise be to God. We just want you to continue to listen in and go and get a friend. I want to tell you today, you need to go and find those young people wherever they are today. You need to find those young people, text them, inbox them, whatever way that you need to get their attention. You need to get their attention today because I want them to listen to this testimony on today, because this is a good one. Not like all the others are not good, but it seems as if there's such a thing, it get gooder and gooder every time. And so we just thank you for joining us. This program is based on Revelation chapter 12 and verse 11. That's what this program is based on. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 11. It says, and they overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. No, you didn't. Let me say that again. They overcome him by the what? The blood of the Lamb and what? The word of their testimony. And so we do month after month. We try to make sure that someone is on here or individuals to give their testimony. And today I want to introduce you to Pastor Paul Lowe. Pastor Paul Lowe is going to join me on today. Pastor, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us on today. And I know the listening audience, they are in for a treat on today because I have listened to your testimony, and I know that God is going to move on today. Again, I want to thank you for joining us on today, and we're going to get right into it this afternoon. As I said, I understand that you are pastoring in the Michigan Conference. Is that correct?
Illinois Conference.
The Illinois Conference.
Yeah, just
okay. Illinois was close. Okay. All right. The Illinois Conference. And thank you for that correction. You know, how did I get to meet Pastor Lowe and know about Pastor Lowe? You know, I was talking to my mom on last week, and as I was talking to my mom says she knows that I do this program once a month. And she was asking me, have I listened to Pastor Lowe's testimony? And I was just going back and say, who is Pastor Lowe? And so my mom started giving me the rundown about Pastor Lowe. Pastor Lowe, my mom says, Pastor Lowe is one of my sons, you
That's
know.
right.
And so she says, you need to talk to Pastor Lowe. You need to hear his testimony. And so I was able to hear your testimony. And so that's how you get to be on this program and say, give kudos to my mom. Give kudos to my mom. Praise be to God. Pastor Lowe, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you again for taking this invitation to be on this program this evening. We are going to go into it. I understand that you are from Guyana.
Yes.
All right, you are from Guyana, and you came to this country, if I'm not mistaken, at age 10. At age 10. Oh, praise be to God. At age 10, you came to this country. And I need you to, because I don't want to do all the talking. I need you to kind of walk us through you leaving Guyana and coming to the United States at age 10. What kind of shocker that was for you?
Oh, man, it was what they say, man, reality check. And I often say to people, you know, I jumped from the tropical jungle smack into the concrete jungle. And I didn't have brothers or cousins. It was just my sister and I. So it was an immediate quest for survival. But I got a few questions I got to ask you. One is how long we'll be here so I can pace myself accordingly. So how long will you and I be engaging?
We'll be engaging for the next hour.
All right, okay, good. And then the second thing is, man, before I start rolling, I have got to pause. Of course, I've got to give praise to God for allowing me to be here
Yes.
and what He's been doing in my life. And the other issue or the other point is I have got to give God praise for your mother, the woman,
Yes.
Emilicia Hyde, that you just referenced, right? Now, I
Yes.
remember meeting you. I certainly remember meeting you, and you were the same high energy, Energizer Bunny dude, like 25 years ago, bouncing off the walls. This guy's like a pastor UPS driver, the energy that the UPS drivers have, they never stop moving. That's what I remember about Mark. Just a very beautiful, charismatic individual. But your mom is also someone within the body of Christ that's
Yes.
instrumental. We need more Emilicia Hydes, and Brother Hyde. God rest his that he sleep in peace. Because that was my early years in the church. I became an Adventist at about age 28, thereabouts.
Okay.
And as I'm saying, just a few years back, before being baptized into the SDA church, I was fresh off the streets. Now, I was raised a Seventh-day Adventist, so that had some value. Those 10 years that you hear me reference, where I grew up on a jungle coastal village in Guyana, South America, called Good Hope. People who know about Guyana, I'm from Good Hope. And those were like my first 10 years, a strict Adventist lay pastor grandmother. My grandma, just in the short time that I knew her, I was with her from I was a year and a half, but I have recollection from say maybe about age 3, 4 to about the year that I left to come to the US. And so that's about 7 years. Within the 7 years, I knew my grandma to plant maybe just about that much, probably at least 6 or 7 churches.
Wow.
That's what she did. That's what she did. She lived her life sharing the gospel, sharing the Advent message, especially to the indigenous people of the interior, but also to the Africans or descending Africans and East Indians on the coastal area. So all I knew was church, man. That's all I knew. Church was 24/7. My grandma was a farmer, and that meant she was someone that went to bed by 9 p.m., 8 p.m., and she was up by 4 a.m. in the morning. I remember many mornings, both in labor to the farm. It's my grandma, a basket on her head with a lamp in the middle of the basket. The basket is balanced. She's not holding it. She has a torchlight, a flashlight. Sometimes she would have just the lamp alone on her head. She'd have a machete in the other hand, and I'd be holding on to some part of her, or my sister would be, and I'd be holding on to my sister, something like that. We're going through 2 miles of jungle, man, until we get to the farm. It's pitch black, it's dark, and then she'd put us to sleep on a little cot or a bench, and she'd go out in her field, out in the dark, doing I don't know what. Sunrise would wake me up. It was the same for Sabbaths. So most Sabbath morning, we would be up by 4 a.m. It would be that similar trip. My grandma with a basket on her head. That time basket would have food and stuff like that, and there'd be a lamp in the middle of it. She may have a flashlight in her hand, cutlass, machete in the other hand, just as regular, to deal with jaguars or leopards or whatever, man, that would be in the bush, or man that would be in the bush. And we would walk into the jungle until we got to a creek at about 5 a.m. And then she would meet with another gentleman who was an elder with her. And then they would meet with another gentleman, and we'd all go into a boat and push into the darkness, man. Just sailing into the jungle, pitch black. But that light, unless it was moonlight season and you had moonlight to guide you. And we get to some native indigenous Indian mission, maybe like just about 7 a.m. And again, sunlight is what would wake me up. Or sometimes when the boat would dock, it would cause everybody to fall forward. I would fall off my chair into the hull of the boat, bump my head, wake up crying, whatever have you. And the rest is Sabbath. My grandma would go there and set up church. So that's all I knew. And so once I got to the U.S., I wanted nothing but to be done with that stuff. I wanted to be free of that kind of lifestyle. Grandma was very strict. She'd tear your hide up for anything. And I mean, I couldn't whistle. I was not allowed to put my hands in my pocket. She didn't like me playing marbles. She didn't like me hunting. And I was a boy. So I did what boys do. And I always had to deal with the consequence of that. So by the time I got to the U.S. and I got to Brooklyn, I reached Brooklyn and my mom was working. I kid you not, my mom was working 4 jobs. So
Four jobs.
Yes, sir. We're in East Flatbush in the 90s. Those who know Brooklyn, we're somewhere off 95th Street. And I'm going to forget the name of the main crossroad there. But we weren't there long. We then moved to East 52nd Street off Rutland. That's East 52nd Street and Winthrop. And that's where I grew my teenage years. But my mom was working 4 jobs. So it's like my mom was working at a factory. I remember that, like a 9 to 5, knitting clothes. And then on the weekend, she had 2 cleaning jobs with different families. And then she had a fourth work stuck in there somewhere, I guess after the 9 to 5. So that didn't change until she started nursing school. And then she had 2 or 3 jobs plus nursing school. So you could get the picture. My sister and I are what we call latchkey kids. We basically supervise ourselves. My mom cooks, while she's home there, and then she leaves home by 6 a.m. or earlier, maybe 5, and she doesn't return until about 1 a.m. So we're both asleep when she returns home from work. And at most, I would remember like the touch of her fingers or her cold lips, kissing me. She kissed me on my forehead and then put the sheet back over me. I open my eyes and look up and see her. And then I'm going again, I'm going back to sleep in my bedroom in the living room, because my bedroom was the living room, right? So
Wow.
yeah, you know how it is, man. Just poverty, man. Yeah.
So you say you when you came to this country, your mom had to work hard in order to sustain you and your sister, but she were working four jobs. So in other words, you and your sister was raising yourself.
Pretty much. I mean, she did all the provisions, preliminary to like until my sister reached like 12 or 13 or so. I was 10, my sister was like 11 and a half. And so I would say for the first year, my mom did all the prelims, there would be a meal prepared and left for us. Well, breakfast, American breakfast, back home we eat food, but American breakfast is frosted flakes and that kind of stuff. So there'd be a box of cereal and milk. So help yourself to the box of cereal and milk, brush your teeth, get your shoes on, head off to school, lock the door, and then come home in the afternoon. If I get home before my sister in the front of the apartment, I wait for her. She come home, open the door, come in, and that's it. We had strict rules to follow about going outside. So that worked for about a year, as I said. And then I started to make friends. Well, I'm small in size. You can't see it on the camera, but I'm about 5'8". So I'm a small guy. And now I'm going to be 55 this year. I'm finally like 180 something pounds, but I was a spaghetti when I was, I was real small, real skinny. So that means victim, so the bigger, stronger guys look for smaller guys to build their reputation on and all this kind of stuff. And, I was observing, and I did well to always keep myself in the background. I learned how to do that very quickly so I could avoid the bullies.
Okay.
I never put myself up front, just kind of in the background, observing in most settings and environments. And I just saw people getting victimized daily. I can't even say weekly, I mean daily. That from elementary school to junior high school to high school. Well, elementary school and junior high school were a little more challenging as far as, you know, being bullied and that kind of stuff. But by the time I got to high school, I was on the other side of the game. So it wasn't no bullying going on, you know, by the time I got to high school. But elementary school and junior high school, a lot of victimizing, seeing friends get stuck up. And I was also slow to fall into what we call the culture or the status of the culture. So I wasn't wearing the things that warranted being robbed. I didn't wear jewelry. I didn't wear expensive coats. I didn't wear expensive sneakers. That didn't start until like late junior high school, you know. And it's this culture of status symbols that were getting kids killed in the 70s and the 80s in Brooklyn, beginning with your shoes. So, you know, we had the black and silver Pumas, we had the shell toe Adidas, we had the notorious red and white. Well, if you had red and white Pumas, you was a bad mother. You couldn't go anywhere with a pair of red and white Pumas unless you were strapping. Same for the black and silver. The blue, you know, whatever. But shell toe Adidas and red and white Pumas, you were a real bad person. If you were walking down the street, you had a bunch of brothers, or you had a gun yourself, or you just had a reputation. And then it was the coats and jewelry, you know, all status values. If you wore a sheepskin coat, you wore a leather bomber, you wore a 8-ball leather jacket, you wore a down, a goose, you know, all these things were status symbols. And if you wore them, you had to defend your right to wear them because they were like a military uniform. They defined who you were in street rank. So if you and I were to join the Marine, or if you have a military background, you know, you start off as a private. And what would happen one day if you said to yourself, man, you know what? You don't really start living until you're a general. I won't start living until I'm a lieutenant or a general. Too many people disrespecting me as a private. How long are you going to take for me to be a lieutenant? And your fellow Marines said, man, that's going to take you at least 10 years. You're going to have to work real hard. I don't have 10 years to wait to do all those testings and all the things that I have to do to get to that rank. I'm going to be a lieutenant tomorrow. So what you do is you break into the clothing barrack and you find a lieutenant uniform and you put it on with all the stripes and everything and all like that. And then you step out. And then the first private you see, you say, hey, you know, and they got to salute you. And you tell them, go do this, go do that, go do the other. You know, sergeants, you see any sergeant, they got to salute you. They got to give you respect. But somebody somewhere is going to say, wait a minute. I swore that guy was a private last month. You know, why is he in a lieutenant's uniform? And they're going to be like, soldier, come here. What's your rank? You say, I'm a lieutenant. Oh, you a lieutenant? You know, and then they will ask you questions. If you don't answer it right or present yourself right, you get court-martialed. So that's what happens in the street. You have guys who, for whatever cause, they enter some neighborhood or some community or whatever, and you immediately are given a rank by how you present yourself. And most of us start as privates in the street. Now, some of us, you get tired of that. You get tired of being slapped, pushed. You get tired of a certain group of guys having all the girls and all of this stuff and all the accolades that they get for being higher up in hierarchy. And you envy that. In some cases, you don't envy it. You just want to be safe, right? Because you realize those guys don't get robbed and picked on. So in my sense, it wasn't so much that I wanted to be praised. I wanted to be safe. So then now the right way to do it, if there's a right way, forgive me. When I say right, I'm saying that in quotation, is you just have to go through the school of hard knocks. You got to fight. You got to get a couple of tooth knockout, bunch of cuts in your head or whatever have you, man. You have to be recognized as someone that no matter who challenges you, what they have in their hand, what size they are, you will fight them. That's the first test. Once you become known as someone who will always defend yourself, you move up. And listen, check this out. It has nothing to do with whether you win the fight or lose the fight. Just that you gotta fight. You gotta be known as someone who will fight. Once you recognize as such, you're one bar up. You're from private to sergeant or whatever have you. Next step is you got to be recognized as an earner, somebody who about making money by some way or another. And once you recognize as such, you up another level. Then the next level is you got to be recognized as a leader. You got to be, then you're wearing the label of gangster or whatever, man. But people are looking up to you as a leader of the neighborhood and of the community. And then, of course, you got the upper, which means you are ready to take somebody's life, or you've already been able to do it. Or you have had a good spin. You've done 3, 4, 5 years in prison, or you've just been in and out of prison, that raises your bar also. So all of that. So, but and then you reach all the way to lieutenant or general, and you have a uniform to portray that. The uniform is a couple of big gold chains, a couple of gold rings, gold tooth, whatever, man, sheepskin shearling coat. For those of us back on the island, since we didn't have no heavy coats, it was a pair of wallabies, a fresh pair of wallaby, some nice Terlin wool pants, some nice Ganzi with 3, 4 nice gold chain. You know the deal,
Yes.
Or your locks up, or your ballet badman, or whatever. But you got some kind of symbol going on there. People look at you and they know where you stand in the street. But what would happen is you'd have other people who come into that environment. They don't want to go through all of that. They don't want to deal with all the school of hard knocks, all the military training, whatever stuff. They're like, look, I could just go get a lieutenant's uniform and put it on. So they haven't had the experience. They've never had fights. They've never had a knife fight. They've never had a gun fight. They've never been to jail. They never got knocked unconscious. They never knocked anybody else unconscious. They've never robbed. They've never stolen, blah, blah, blah. They just decide, that's it. I'm getting a sheepskin. I'm getting a couple of gold chains. I'm going to put a gold tooth on, drop these shell to Adidas, don some wallaby and thing. And, whichever, whether you're on the American route or you on the Caribbean route. Rasta or you a Muslim or whatever, man. So, and then you just come. And let me tell you, some people are fortunate. They somehow manage to survive a good 2, 3 years even. And if they were only in the environment for a short time, some of them actually survive it and get out. And then they remove themselves from that type of lifestyle or image. But many of them didn't, because I cannot explain it to you more than this, brother. It's animalistic. To this day, I am 55. I am not in the street. I've left the street how long ago? You put me in any ghetto environment, I could point them out.
Wow. As we say, this program today, this testimony, we're talking about but God. If it not be for the but God, you wouldn't be able to hear to talk to him. Give us a snap, because I know you have shared this story before. As you talk about these different coats, that individual way, share with the listening audience, those who are on Facebook, those who are on YouTube, about the incident that you experienced with the coat.
All right, that I would have been maybe about 12, or even 11. So that was elementary school. So I'm green, as we say at that time. So, and I know it's in my early settling, because I still used a translator, right? So I had a friend, his name was Chris. He was Jamaican, and Chris was my translator. Chris would tell me what the teacher and the other students were saying, and he would tell them what I said, because it was hard for me to understand them. It took a little while for me to understand African American lingua. And I even the teacher at times I couldn't understand, because some New York Jewish people, they have they talk like that, and they say things like "use," hey, you stop it, So they have their own dialect and accent, and often some of the teachers, I couldn't understand what they were saying. So Chris was my translator. All right. At that time, I wasn't registered for lunch. The school provided lunch, but I wasn't registered for lunch because my mom is still getting all that paperwork together. I used to go home for lunch, which was about 2 blocks away, just around the corner, 2 blocks. So my mom, I told you about the 4 jobs. She was working for a wealthy family, one of those families that she was a home care person for. They were well off. The husband was a lawyer and the wife was a doctor, something like that. Those people heard that we were coming to the US. My mom told them, and they were kind enough to say, hey, let's go shopping. And so they took my mom shopping and they bought us clothing. Now, they rich white people, so I guess they decided they're going to buy the best. So they bought me a quarter-field coat. Yeah, y'all could Google it. So you could Google quarter-field. And a quarter-field coat was a corduroy. It was made of corduroy and mink and down. Corduroy, mink, and down. All right. That's a recipe for death right there. So a quarter-field back in those days, I think the coat was somewhere between $200 and $300. That was a lot of money back then. And it was a green quarter-field with brown mink collar and breast. I remember that much. And so here I am in the 6th grade or 5th grade. It was 5th even. And I got a quarter-field. They didn't even know, my friends are telling me this, they didn't even know they had quarter-fields that could fit kids. So because this is a coat that big gangsters wear, pimps wear quarter-fields. So I step into the classroom one day and my Jamaican translator friend said, yo, where you get that? I'm like, mother, give me a new coat, man. Yo, dude, you know what you wearing? I'm like, hey, this is a new coat. Mother buy me a new coat. The guy's like, he says to me, yo, shorty, as they will call me, yo, shorty, you strapping? Now, again, that's language. I don't know what he means, right? Yo, shorty, you strapping. So I asked him what he means, and he says, yo, you got a tool? You got a pistol? You got a knife? This is 5th, 6th grade, y'all. This is 5th, 6th grade. So that would tell you that they were kids in the 5th and 6th grade that were already armed. 5th grade. Because he asked me that without being surprised. He just assumed, okay, maybe he got a bunch of criminal brothers and cousins and they armed him. I said, no, I don't have no knife. I don't have no gun. And he said, well, yo, shorty, you better be ready to throw. You better be ready to fight. Whatever, man. Put my coat in the closet as we were instructed to do. And then lunchtime, I got dressed to go home to have lunch. I leave the school. I'm walking home. I see 3 teenage guys leaned up against a car. And they make eye contact with me. I make eye contact with them. I walk past them. And then one of them say, yo, shorty, come here. Just like that. And I stopped, pointed to myself, me? The guy said, yeah, you, come here, man. So I turned around and started walking back to them slowly. And then the guys, 2 of them surrounded me. One of them remained sitting on the car smoking a blunt. And 2 of them got off the car and approached me. One guy said, he looked at me up, down. He said, oh, show you what you want to do for that coat. Now, I was about 11. The boys maybe were between the age of 15 and 17. And I didn't understand the question. And I repeated it. I said, what do you mean, what you want to do for me, coat? Right? So as any fresh arrived Guyanese kid, I looked at the guy and said, what do you mean, what you want to do for me, coat? And the guy repeated him, said, yo, what you want to do for that coat? And he grabbed me by the collar. And the next thing I knew, knuckles in my nose. Guy just punched me. And then I grabbed onto him because I'm dazed. And this little struggle and fight is ensuing. He's hitting me in my head, and I won't let him go. And so then the second guy went back to the car and joined the other guy that was smoking and is just watching his friend try to disarm me, try to get the coat off me. And I'm fighting for my life. It was ice. It was wintertime. And eventually, because of the way I was gripping him, he lost his balance. We both fell on the ground. And when we fell on the ground, I just scurried and I ran between 2 cars. Then he chased me between the 2 cars. He got his hand on me. I got up. And when he got up, he fell a second time. And his friends were laughing. Well, that was it. That was enough for me, man. I was faster than Carl Lewis on ice. But remember, he's a teenage dude. So they caught up. I ran about a block or half a block. And they caught up with me at the end of the block. They just outran me because they're bigger and they're faster. The guy caught up with me. And at some point, he punches me in my back, man. He hits me so hard in my back, I started to pedal and was almost fell to my face, but I kept running. And when I looked over my shoulder, I just saw them standing in the same position. They just stood there staring at me like they were waiting for me to collapse from him punching me. And then they didn't follow me. I turned the corner and ran into my project and ran up the stairs and ran up into the apartment and locked the door and threw myself on the bed. And, just my heart racing, man. I ate lunch and I went back to school a different direction. I went 3 or 4 blocks a circle to reach the school from another direction and got back into class. All right, I get into class, same friend. The rules of the classroom is you got to put your coat in the closet. And so the teacher reminds me, and I stand up and I'm taking off my coat to hang in the closet. And the same friend says, yo, and he uses an expletive and he said, yo, what happened to your coat? And I said, what happened to my coat? And he said, your face, man. So, my face must have started swelling a little bit. And is then I turned the coat around and noticed that the coat had a gash from the upper collar right below my back, like almost down to my spine, like about a 10-inch cut. And the down feathers were falling out. So the guy, what I thought he punched me, that guy hit me with a blade. And the knife cut through the back of the coat right down to the base lining. So this dude actually swung at me, must have been what we call a 007, and yeah, I didn't know what to do. I just stood there staring at my coat like, oh, wow. And so the same friend, he's like, yo, man, don't worry, man. We're going to walk home with you, man. Yo, I told you you better be strapping. You come up with your coat of feeling, you ain't strapping. You ain't got no gun. You ain't got some. Why do I need a gun or a knife?
But God, from a young age, God had his hand on you, protecting you.
Yes.
So from that point, they would ask you, did you learn your lesson? Or did you learn a lesson from there, or did it get worse from there?
Well, I learned a lesson, and the lesson that I learned is if I don't learn to protect myself, I'm going to end up dead. That's the lesson that I learned. That should not have been the lesson that I learned. Maybe I should have learned something about God's grace and being simple. Now, I stopped wearing the coat. I went home and I told my mother what happened, and the coat just sat in the closet. I think we stitched it up, and the only time I wore that coat was to church when I'm walking down the street with a group of, adult people. But I would never wear that coat anywhere that I was going alone, until I outgrew it or whatever have you. But what it told me, it left a strong sense of fear and concern. I'm here to stay. I'm here to live. I have no brothers. I have no cousins. At least I didn't have any cousins close by. I got some cousins in Queens, and they middle class people. They're not living in the hood. So how am I going to survive? And I wasn't someone that they easily followed. I like to do my own thing and all of that. So what I learned to do very quickly from that point on was adapt. Adapt. And as I said, as it started out, I never desired to be a gangster, to be a thug, none of that. I have no intentions of any of that. I just wanted to survive. But there I began my quest of survival. And from that, it just escalated. By the time I was 13, 14, I was carrying pistols. I either daily, I had a knife or I had a pistol from about the age 14.
So how was some of the incident surrounding you that you said that you had to protect yourself? What led to that you had to protect yourself?
Right. Well, as I said, I was coy enough to stay in the background, and I learned that, hey, try not to be singled out so easily. So be assertive, but don't follow your friends that got 3-4 brothers that can defend them. They can go ahead and sling gold chains and wear Shirley coats and all of that. That ain't for you. Just stay low key. Fight. But now I had to fight. Now I got to be honest with you, brother. You know my size. If I had 100 fights in my life, which I probably did, if I won 10 of them, I won a lot. So
Mm,
most of my fights I lost because I wouldn't fight guys that were my size, and I definitely wouldn't
mm,
fight somebody smaller than me. If you were my size, you had to attack me. If you were smaller than me, you literally had to attack me. But if you were my size or bigger than me and you challenged me, it was on, because I know I have to prove to you that I'm not somebody that you could so easily walk over.
mm,
So I started fighting, but that was it. I didn't get into nothing else but fighting. I remember the first day I held a pistol, and we went swimming. By now I'm doing all right in my neighborhood. I'm running with the older guys. They like me. I'm small. I'm smart. I'm unassuming, and I will fight. So I've earned their respect to some extent. So I started rolling with some of the older guys, and we went swimming in New Lots. They had a pool up there by one of the projects. I'm trying to remember the name of the projects, but I can't.
yeah.
And after we left the pool, Eastern Parkway and memory's not going, man. But there's a big pool up there, and the brothers were from Rutland Project. That's what the project was called, Rutland Project. So when we're leaving, we went to a store to buy beer, candy, cigarettes, whatever that we went to buy, man, and ended up in a confrontation. And two of the older guys are arguing with some guys from the pool that we were having some kind of issue with. And then the next thing I remember was one of the guy went into his sock and pulled out a pistol. I didn't even know he had it.
Mm,
And he said some words to the other guys. And the next thing I heard was, that was it. Bang, pow, 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 pow. And I took off. Right. So again, faster than Carl Lewis. Now we're about a good maybe mile from our street, and I ran nonstop. I got to our building. I ran inside, locked myself in the building, and then I came back out like about 15 minutes later and sat on the step. And then two of the older guys roll up on a bicycle. One guy riding, the other guy in the handlebar. They say, "Yo, shorty, where you was, man?" These are now Caribbean guys. Well, I'm here. I said, "Yo, I heard gunshots, man." Now, to my shock, the second friend starts to say, "Yo, you see how I dropped that such and such, man?" And I said, "Drop who?" And he said, "Yo, you didn't see when I dropped that?" And I said, "Wait, you were shooting?" And he said, "Yeah, it was me." Da 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 da. All this. I said, "Man, stop it, man. You wasn't shooting nobody," because I just didn't know him to be that kind of person.
yeah.
And then he rolled up his pants, rolled down the socks, took up the pistol and said to me, "Open your hand." And I held out my hand, and he put the pistol in my hand and held it, and it burnt me. He did that intentionally, burnt me. And then he pulled his hand back, and I said, "Yo, that ain't right, man. That ain't right." Now this is at age 14. I'm like, "Yo, that ain't right." He said, "What you mean it ain't right?" I said, "Man, y'all just shoot people just like that, man. You only have to shoot nobody." And he said, "Yo, shorty, what you talking about, man?" So he, in the street, we say he's schooling me. And he said, "Yo, you better learn how to survive." He
Mm,
said, "You don't got no tool?" And I said to him, "I don't need no tool." And he said, "Oh, you don't need no tool?" I said, "Yeah, because I got this." And he just laughed and laughed. It was the funniest thing he heard, because I'm 5 feet even maybe at that age. And he said, he just grabbed me by my head and he said, "Yo, shorty, you better learn how to tough, man. You better learn how to live, man." And he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna let you hold this. I'm gonna let you hold this," meaning he's gonna give me that gun because he has another one, or he's getting another one. And
mm,
I remember saying to him, "Yo, I'm good, man. Nah, I'm good." He said, "Yo, shorty, I'm straight, man. You better get you a tool, man. I'll let you hold this." And, that was my first intervention with a pistol. And then, as the rest of the guys came back and they're all excited about the shootout or the shooting, and they're all talking about it, I said to him, "Pelly, was it?" I said, "Yo, Pelly, yo, let me see that again, man." Took out the pistol, he gave it to me. And it was the first time I examined it. I took the magazine out. He showed me how to rack it to make sure nothing is in the chamber. That was it. From then, yeah, the gun was my best friend. So
mm,
this is so much easier than having to fight than having to run, than having to beg. All I got to do from here on is raise my shirt, you know, or well, okay, you raise your shirt, and then at some point the other person's gonna have a pistol too. Then what? Well, then I'm ready to pop. But my mind had reached that state of being. Now, a year later, 2 years later, a shootout was just something that happened. You know, we go to parties and get into shootouts all the time. We come in from school, we on the train, we have some kind of argument with somebody, shootout. You on the street, you there in the neighborhood, somebody's gonna come running and say, yo, I was just coming from Canarsie, I was just coming from the Church Avenue, man. I was coming from the 40s, and some 40s cats jumped me, man. And then that's it. We get together as a group and we go back and retaliate.
Wow. So much. Man, we talk time is moving away. And so now you are heavily into this. You as they say on the street, you are strapped now, and you are carrying these things. Walk us through the point that, as you shared, about now that you are so heavily into this activity, and your mom talk about going to Florida.
So much of that is, as I said, it's not fighting is the first step, being able to defend yourself. Then you need to prove yourself as someone that's industrious. You're going to be making money some way. Either you're going to be selling drugs, you selling weed, you selling crack, or you running numbers, you stealing, you a stick-up kid. You got some kind of means of inventory and doing business. And then the next step is to present yourself as a leader. And as I said, with that leadership comes you being somebody that can take life and all of that kind of stuff. And then that's it. You at the top. All right. So I'm still in between a fighter and someone that's making money, right? And what happened was I went into another community. By now, I'm fully Caribbean. When I start out this story, I'm assimilating to the Yankee culture, we say. I'm assimilating to African-American culture. And that was like my first 4 years. I became a 5% Muslim and all of that stuff, right? So I move on from that part of my life. The community has become populated with more Caribbean people, Haitians, Jamaicans, more Guyanese, Panamanians, et cetera, et cetera. And we got our own thing going on our own turf. I go into this hostile community and I got attacked by 4 guys who tried to rob me. And post that robbery, the only thing that saved me was I wouldn't let go of the guy in the fight, because I realized if there was enough space between he and I, they would shoot me, because they had pulled me into an apartment lobby. And 5 guys are beating me near unconscious, but God gave me strength that I didn't pass out. And as I said, I wouldn't let the guy go. Eventually, the police came, and the police, beat up all of us and threatened to arrest us and told us we have an option. We could both go down to central booking or we could go home. I just walked off and went home. 3 days later, I would come to retaliate that incident. But just a month before that, I was in an incident involving, sorry about that. I was in an incident involving another gang. This is a Jamaican gang on 31st Street. And you all could look up the history of that. It's online, the notorious 31st Posse. So I belong to the 50s Posse, and you had the 31st Posse, and those guys did not play. So a friend of mine had some trouble with a guy from the 31st Posse, and we went to avenge that. We actually went to kill the guy, but we ended up getting caught by the police after beating the guy up. My friend went to jail. I went on probation, and it was after that incident I end up in this incident with the guys in Church Avenue. And so now they come and they threaten to shoot up my apartment. And I go back, retaliate, get into a fight with the guy. And look how God is working through all of this.
But God.
I go with some friends to kill the guy. And it wasn't my choice. It was my friend's choice. The guy that was head of my, whatever you want to call it, group, gang, posse, whatever. He said, yo, not go some man. Nah, they can't get over like that, man. We gotta go up there and bust con. Meaning somebody has to get shot. because we not about to be disrespected. Look what they did to you. So we go there, and just by chance, when we get there to create massacre, the guy that's the gang leader for that group knows the guy that's the head of my group. They were in jail together in Rikers like for 6 months at some point. And they had each other's back, as we say in the street. So they just laughed and hugged each other, and then they say, yo, yo, that's it, man, ain't no static. It's done, it's squashed. Yo, y'all just pound. And I refused to. And I had a fight with the guy. I lost the fight, of course, because he's much bigger than me. And I told the guy repeatedly, as they were pulling me away, I just kept saying, you're dead, you're dead. I said it maybe 10 times. That was maybe like, say, a Monday. By Wednesday afternoon, the guy was dead. He was stabbed 23 times, cut off his ears, cut out his part of his tongue, stabbed him in both eyes. Somebody did him bad. I'll be honest with you. I was plotting, and I talked to friends, and were plotting with friends to go back and get the guy. And so people really believed it was me. And so police doing the investigation, asking questions, it led to me. Police came to my house. They questioned me, but they didn't detain me. And then the guys came and tried to shoot up my apartment, but the guys from the neighborhood stopped them. So after my mom got wind of just a little bit of this, my mom told me my aunt in Florida had died, which is true, a great aunt. And she said, you know, you need to go down to Florida. It was summertime. You're not in school. Go to the funeral, represent the family. And you know, I can't go. And I said, all right, I agree with my mom. I said, yeah, I'll go to Florida. I'll go to the funeral. And when I got to the airport, I saw my mom with my passport. And I'm like, why you have my passport? I don't need a passport to go to Florida. And also then I realized why she brought an older cousin of mine and a friend. They were in the cab with her all the way, with me sitting in the middle. So just about the time I said to her, you don't need my passport for me to go to Florida, my older cousin and the guy just stepped up and shouldered me. And my mom said, you're not going to Florida. You're going back to Guyana. You're going to America. And so that was it. I didn't resist because I knew what I was facing. So I would have ended up in jail, because how they did things back then, and maybe even now, if they have a case and they can't fix that case, they grab the next likely person.
Yes.
And they will make you confess to it. You know.
But God.
So I'm looking at some kind of sentence for murder. Even though I'm not the one that did it, they're at least going to book me on some conspiracy to whatever, or I'm going to get killed by the gang itself, by the guy's friends. So I accepted the banishment, so to speak, and I get on the plane and I'm back in Guyana. I spent a year in Guyana, started to really, you know, connect with my Rastafarian roots, you know, so start locks up and all of this stuff, and you know what Rastas do, man. And within that time frame, 2 more young men that had not reached the age of 18 had been dead before the end of that summer. So I'm talking within a matter of 3 months, 3 young men below 18 were dead over one incident.
Wow.
That's just how we live. But it was in that experience, I think, was my first transition.
Wow.
Because I had a cousin who was very brilliant, and she wanted to study. No, she had scholarships to study in Romania, to study in China, to study in Cuba. She turned all of them down because she wanted to study in the U.S. And she was crying one day, just disillusioned. And she said to me, what I would give if I had your opportunity to come to the U.S., to live in the U.S. And I just sit there looking at her crying, and I said to myself, man, this girl, more than anything in her life, wants to have an opportunity to live in the U.S., to make something of herself. And I'm going back, and my main objective is to figure out where I can find bullets for my gun and where I can get the best deal to sell guns, because that's what I started doing. I started selling guns. I didn't want to deal with the whole crack cocaine thing, but I had connections, you know, purchasing and selling firearms. And so I'm going back to Brooklyn to figure out my best connection to get bullets to sell and guns to sell.
Wow.
And
Fast forward. Yeah, praise God, but God. I want because oh, man, it seems as if when we are talking, but time is moving. Oh, so now you have another second chance to come back to the United States. Walk us through and tell us now, because this is the part now that you connected with my family. How did you end up in Florida? To walk us through that. How did you end up in Florida?
so I come back to the US. I'm about 17 and a half, 18 maybe at that time. It probably reached 18 by the time I returned. And I decided to enroll in college, and which I did. Went to aeronautical college, got a degree in aeronautical engineering, then got another degree in aviation management, then started to work for Pan American Airlines. Now, through all of that, I'm off the street, but I'm not out of the culture. I've just become more sophisticated. I've learned better ways to make money without standing on a street corner. I'm not going to get into all the details of all of that, but I'm moving up the ladder. And you can imagine if I'm working at the airport, as much as I'm gonna say about that, or any port of entry, that's pinnacle for trafficking. So I get mixed up into all of that, and then I ended up transferring to Miami because of an incident. Friend ends up getting accosted in the parking lot. Colombian guys pin him on the ground and they shot him in both knees. So they shot both his kneecaps out, but allowed him to live. While he was in the hospital, the police got a warrant and raided his home and found about $80,000 cash and then whatever else they found. Maybe a day after, I get a call from Jamaica. A friend of mine calls me from Jamaica. My street name was Desi. And he says, yo, where you at? I said, yeah, I'm ready. He said, you better get out of Brooklyn. He said, man, I'm already, yo, me backyard, me there, brethren, yo, and he says the name of that person. He says he's going to talk. He's saying the friend that the police is interrogating that's in the hospital with both knees blown out, he's going to talk. So I need to leave. And that motivated me to take transfer, and I moved to Miami. When I get to Miami, I decide I'm done. I'm going to be clean. I still got mixed up in more of that. I got caught up connected with another friend who I trained how to run things on the street, who was now in Miami. He was big, kingpin. He blew up. He had business between Jamaica, Haiti, Bahamas to Florida. And so he's pulling me into that network. And that's where, I almost lost my life. But that was the last time. That friend gave me mercy. That friend said to me in a conversation, he said, yo, Desi, may I tell you this right now? If I never know you or I know you, man, if I didn't love you like a brother, say you're dead, right? Because anyhow, you can't give me $80,000, you would have dead, right? So he said, if I didn't know you the way I know you, if I didn't know you like a brother, if I didn't have the respect that I have for you, unless you had $80,000 to put in my hand right now, because that's what you caused me to lose, you would be dead. And the guy said to me, I told him all, I said, yo, give me 2 months, give me 3 months, man. I know how to turn that. Don't worry, you're going to get your money. And what I'm getting ready to do is connect with other friends. And I'm going to go like 10 years back. I'm going to get my friends to rob clubs, do whatever we do, man. Run all kind of schemes and raise that money. Throw dance even, throw dance, rob clubs, get into all kind of schemes, build that money back, pay that person back. And that's how the street is. But the friend said to me, he said, yo, don't worry about it. You don't owe me nothing. And he sarcastically said, yo, you ain't cut for this lifestyle no more, man. You should become a preacher or something, man. Go to church, man. You're trying. I could see you trying to clean your life up, man. You should do that. But he meant it sarcastically. But he and I still talk, and we always reflect on that. Now, God has blessed him. He's a successful businessman today. He's not involved in any illicit trade or practice or anything like that.
Praise God.
But look at God working. So
But God.
Joining church in Florida, got baptized, and that's where I met your mom. And God has been working on me through since then. Mm-hmm.
Wow, praise God. For these few minutes that we have left, I wanted there is a young person who is going to listen to this, or there may be a young person who is listening out there on YouTube or on Facebook right about now. You know, you have been in this style, and no, we're not glorifying what you have done, but we want to see how can you talk to. I need you to talk to that young man right now who think that the gang is only thing and they need to shoot up somebody to survive. Talk to that young person right now.
Yes, yes, man. I have friends that I recall spoke to me then also. I remember I have a good friend who one day approached me and he said, "Come back to church, man." This was when I was still in Brooklyn. He said, "Why you stop coming to church?" I said, "Man, I'm not living that lifestyle no more, man. I can't." And he said, "Man, why not?" I said, "Man, because I gotta live, man. What you ask me a question like that for?" And he said, "Man, you don't have to worry about that stuff. God is gonna protect you." He was Jamaican also. I said, "Yo, God protect me." I said, it's five of y'all, because it was five brothers. I
Yeah.
said, "It's five of y'all, man. You got to worry about God protecting you. You got people to defend you. I got to defend myself." And he said, "Man, but you got to trust God to defend you." I said, "Yeah, let me show you people who trusted God to defend them." And I'm about to tell him about people that's in the grave and this kind of stuff. But listen, I was wrong. I was wrong. We have to have a living faith.
Mm.
If I had a stronger relationship with Christ back then, I probably would not have experienced half that I experienced. The other
Mm.
thing I want my friends out there, my youth friends out there to know is it don't matter how far you think you are, right? How far you
Mm.
think you have moved from God. You are never outside his reach. And it also don't matter how deep you are. I'm not going to sit here and tell you all things that I did. I told you all a little bit of them, but I can't even begin to tell you all the details and all of that. But look, it doesn't matter what the details are and what kind of background and how far you went. God is ready. You can be 50,000 miles away from God. It takes one step to turn back to him. Once you turn around and you face him, you are on your way back to him. Don't worry about the distance. Don't worry how long it's going to take. He is there waiting and ready. My other message is for the church itself. Stop writing kids off. Stop looking at kids and trying to say, "You see that one there? You see that kid? He's going to be no good. He's going to end up to nothing." See potential for salvation in every single child. Pray for them, encourage them. One thing I tell you, brother, my mother never stopped praying for me. My mother had a shrine. I hate to use that word, but it's true. My mother had a shrine. She had a space in a corner with a Bible and candles. That was her prayer corner, her prayer closet, whatever you want to call you. Many a days I came in off the street, I found my mother in that corner praying for me as I was coming up the stairs, and she didn't even know it was me. I hear my mother crying out my name to God. She never stopped praying for me. Do not stop praying for those kids who you may think are lost. And again, my young brother, my young sister, I know what you're going through out there. I know it's rough. I was no gangster. I was a regular kid. He might be a regular kid like you. But God really will take care of you. Just trust him. Just trust him. Just trust him. And don't let the pressures and the stressors of the society keep you from being intimate with God.
Mm. Praise God. But God, for those of you who are listening, oh, I needed to hit that subscribe button. I needed to hit that bell for that notification. We want to thank Pastor Lowe for being with us on today. But Pastor Lowe, there is a young person out there. They feel that nobody understands them. And here you are somebody who have been in the streets. You have been there, done that. How can a young person connect with you and just want to talk? They just want to talk. We know that you're a pastor, and how can they connect with you, because you supposed to understand what they're going through right now? How can they connect with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. They could reach me on Facebook. You have my permission to share my details on Facebook. I am Paulo Desmonde Lowe.
Yeah.
Just as you see written here, I know that's a big long name, or Paul Desmond Lowe. It shows my birth name. You could reach me there. They can reach me by email. I'll give you my email, and they could even text me.
Mm.
And my number is 269-240-7637. 269-240-7637. They can text me anytime, and we can talk and we can pray. It would be
All
my
right, all right. Our producer is going to put that. Let's repeat it one more time. Our producer can put it in the link, and it can flash across the screen, and they can get that number, and they can connect with Pastor Lowe, because there's so many times that young people out there in the street, and they believe that somebody do not understand them. And so if you want to get in touch with Pastor Lowe, you can call him, you can text him and say, Pastor Lowe, I'm out here in the street. Can you help me? I need to give this thing up. Pastor Lowe, we want to thank you. We want to thank you. And I pray that your congregation. You says that last time I talked to you, you said that you have 4 congregations.
Yes, I do. 4 churches in the Chicago area. Yeah.
Oh, in the Chicago area, praise be to God. I know that God is blessing, and He's going to continue to bless you to reach those people there in Chicago. As you can look, you can see the number. It is scrolling across the screen, and you can call Pastor Lowe, text him, and say, Pastor Lowe, I'm out here. Can you send somebody to get me, or can you come and get me? I need some help out here in
Amen.
the street. Again, I want to thank you, Pastor Lowe, for joining us here on the first Thursday testimony broadcast. And I pray that God will continue to send his angel. But as we say, but God, if it was not for the grace of God, you wouldn't be able to be here talking to us today. And we give God all the glory, and say hi to your lovely family. And we
Yes,
give God all the honor. And again, I will let my mom know that I did get to talk to you. She probably listening. I don't know. She
praise God.
probably listening to the broadcast. So I thank you, and I thank my mom for allowing me to interview you this afternoon. To God be the glory. And
Yeah.
any final word that you want to say to the people out there, Pastor Lowe?
Just that love the Lord with all your heart, your soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as Christ loves the church. That's what we have to do. He said that by this way he will know, or they will know, that we are his, by the way we love one another, right? So we have all our principles and doctrines and all that stuff that we uphold, but let's not forget to love one another, because that's the means by which he said others will know that we are his.
Praise be to God. Thank you, Pastor Lowe. And I want to say to the listening audience, again, we want to thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you hit that button so that you do not miss any of the broadcast. Until next month, remember, the first Thursday of every month, we are right here on this broadcast. May God bless you. Until then.
God bless you. Thank you.
Yes.